right, I believe we're live. I'm going to give a few minutes for people to join. So we are live, but just hold on a little bit. Let me share my screen. I've got some slides for you guys. Share. All right. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and get started. So today I'm going to chat with you all about chemistry classes at the University of Arizona. And the chemistry classes at U of A are a little bit unique. So we're going to talk about specifically for University of Arizona, how to make sure that you can get an A in your chemistry classes this semester. So first, here you go, how to get an A in your chemistry course at University of Arizona. So first, let's make sure you're in the right spot. So this training specifically is going to be for you if you are a student or a parent of a student who is taking chemistry at the University of Arizona. Again, this is very specific to U of A. If you want to earn an A in your class without having to get stressed out or overwhelmed, if you're prepared to give yourself the best possible opportunity for success, and if you're looking for expert guidance with proven results, then you are in the right place. So just imagine this semester in your chemistry class, if you go into your exams with confidence, knowing that you are prepared to be successful. You engage during the class lectures because you actually understand what's going on. You don't have a lot of stress or uncertainty around studying. You know exactly what to do and where to put your focus. And because of that, you earn the exact grades that you want. And you even spend your time efficiently so that way you can include self-care and relaxation into your routine. That could absolutely So this could absolutely be you. Hunter, she got 100 on her third exam in her chemistry class. Another one of our students got an A in 241B, that second semester Ochem. It's kind of notoriously a very difficult class. Got a 97 on one of the chem exams, 92.5 on the final chemistry exam. Final went really well, got an A. So final exam, 97.5, 96% on the exam, 100 on multiple choice, 93 on grade scope. That's the free response part of the exam. And then at the end of the day, getting an A in chemistry, right? That's the goal. That absolutely could be you. So let's make an agreement before I dive into things. I promise I'm going to show you in this training the 3 steps that all of those students that I just showed you really went through, that you kind of need in order to make sure that this is your experience as well. And in return, I just ask you to take action on it. You can share this if you're the parent watching this. You can share this video with your kid. If you're the student, you should share this with your parent maybe. And especially if you are the student, actually implement what I share with you, the 3 steps. And at the end, I will also share with you how you can get everything I go through customized for you specifically if that's something that you're interested in. So think about going into college, or if you're not a freshman, maybe think about your past experiences. If you've ever had any of these experiences, maybe you study for hours and hours and hours, but you still do not do well on your exam, or you do okay on one exam and then maybe the next one you fail. So your results are super inconsistent. Maybe you're going to office hours, but you still can't seem to bring up your test averages. Maybe during lecture, it's almost a waste of time. You're just daydreaming because maybe you're not even going because you just don't even know what's going on, don't know what the teacher's talking about. And overall, that leads you to feeling stressed out, anxious, and overwhelmed. That absolutely does not have to be your experience in chemistry. You are just missing 3 steps that I call the Chem Excellence Method. A quick little bit about me. How I know this, why I'm qualified to share this with you. I'm Lori. I'm the founder of STEM Excellence. I have a PhD in chemistry from the University of Arizona, so I know the U of A courses very, very well. I've worked with over 450 students just in U of A chemistry classes, and I have over 20 years of teaching experience. So not only am I intimately familiar with the U of A chemistry department and the courses there, I'm also very familiar with students, their struggles, and how they can be successful in those courses. And I've personally designed our STEM excellence methods after years of proven results with U of A chemistry students. So based on all of the experience, first I want to talk about some of the most common mistakes that I see students making that kind of cause them to look like this as they're going through and studying. The first one is trying to do it on your own. So I like to taking this class to climbing Mount Everest. Think about, like, for example, you're trying to climb Mount Chemistry, maybe. Imagine trying to climb this Mount Chemistry by yourself, trying to figure out how to navigate through the twists and the turns, trying to figure out which pathway to take. Compare that to climbing with a team of other students who are also motivated to get to the top, and a guide, what a Sherpa, right? An expert who knows the way, pointing out which pathway to take and supporting you through the tough parts. Which of those 2 scenarios is going to be more successful for you, by yourself or with a team of students and an expert? Obviously with a team, right? So, I a lot of times see students, they're like, I just got to push through it by myself. I just got to get through it. And they make it harder on themselves than it has to be. You don't have to do it alone. You wouldn't climb Mount Everest alone. Why would you go through a tough class by yourself? Get some support. Another problem that I see is students only rely on their professor. Your professors are great. I know pretty much all of the professors at the U of A chemistry department personally, they're all amazing. But you are one of several hundred students in this class, and then most of the professors, this is not the only class they're teaching. So you are one of many, 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 many students that they have. Office hours get packed because there's so many students that need support. The professors can only do so much. They cannot be, as much as they care and as wonderful as they are, they cannot be personally invested in your success. So sometimes, especially if you are struggling, you need to go beyond just depending on your professor. Another thing that we see a lot with students is they have what I call a high school mentality. Okay, so high school and college are very different. Whenever you get into college, the college level chemistry classes are not going to be like high school. You're not going to have your hand held the same way your high school teachers did. What got you an A in your high school classes will likely be the bare minimum to just pass the class. If you want to make an A, it takes a different approach, and it's going to take a little bit more work, and it's going to take a little bit more strategy to get there. And then lastly, there's a lot of resources that the U of A offers. It's wonderful. It's fantastic that they have these. But again, if you're struggling, sometimes only depending on student tutors is not necessarily the way to go. The preceptors, the think tank, they're amazing, but they are just students, and students who've just done well in the class. Just because you did well in the class doesn't mean you necessarily know how to teach somebody else to do well. It's not uncommon for sometimes them to get the questions incorrect, but in general, the in-depth explanations that really help you get that understanding that's going to take you above and beyond do require an expert understanding. So without further ado, now we've taken care of the mistakes. You know what not to do. Let's talk about what to do. I'm going to introduce you to the Chem Excellence method. Generally, what you need for success, I like to call it the learning trifecta. Your teacher is going to give you a strategy. That's only the first part. So the strategy, the curriculum, the course that you're going through. Without the correct habits and environment, that strategy will fail every single time. So what the teacher gives you is the first step, but you need to combine that with the right habits and the right environment. So if your goal is to graduate with a good GPA, so that way you can, maybe you're pre-med, you want to go to the medical school of your choice, or even just med school in general. Maybe you want to get a high-paying job straight out of college. Maybe you want to secure some competitive summer internships. Maybe you want to become an engineer at some top engineering firm. Whatever your goal is, you want to create a prestigious future for yourself. That's why you're here, right? That's why you're going to college. You cannot afford to just leave it to chance. So make sure you got your notes. Let's dive into the first step is to prepare. I love analogies and I love the Olympics. So prepare yourself for a lot of Olympic analogies. Think about a swimmer in the Olympics jumping into the race without warming up their body, without warming up their mind, and without having a game plan for how they're going to make it through the race. It wouldn't happen, right? They definitely wouldn't win. I'm sure they would finish, but they definitely wouldn't win, right? But most students, they jump into studying without actually thinking about how they're going to study. So the same way that the athlete has to first off warm up their body and their mindset, but then also have a plan of how they're going to go through a race, a successful student also needs to prepare a plan of how they're going to make it through a class, of how they're going to study for an exam, of how they're going to manage their time, of how they're going to put everything together in order to get to where they want to be. So make sure, this is especially true when you're studying, make sure you think about how you're going to study before you actually study. If you want to be, like I told you, I love the Olympics, lots of Olympic analogies. If you want to be the gold medalist of your chemistry class, don't just jump in cold. Define your goals. Think about where you actually want to be. Prepare your mindset and then make a plan. How are you going to study? How are you going to be successful in the class? The next part, one of my favorite things, I call it previewing. Think about the material that you're going to see in your class that the professor is going to introduce to you as a maze. Most students are going to see that material for the first time in their lecture. It's complicated, it's complex. Imagine trying to follow this complex matrix that you've never ever seen before. You're going to get lost. And then whenever you get lost in lecture, the thing that happens is you start to wander, you start to look at the clock, you start to maybe pull out your phone, you stop paying attention, you stop engaging. And then it's essentially just a waste of your time to be there. But your lectures with your professors are a fantastic resource for yourself. So what if you could kind of have a guide to see what the maze looks like before you actually start it? Then you kind of know where things are going. You have an introductory understanding of where the twists and turns are. Approach your lectures like that. See the material before the lectures, so that way you can follow along with the instructor. You're actually getting something out of the time that you're spending in class. You can stay engaged. You can pay closer attention. You can pick up on the details. A lot of professors give hints about what's going to be on the exam. You can actually pick up on those nuances because you actually know what's going on. And then, of course, the last part is to practice. But not just any kind of practice. We want to make sure it's the right kind of practice. We want to make sure it's efficient and effective practice. Think about golfing. Imagine a golfer competing in the Olympics without ever playing on that specific course before. They have to do it perfectly in order to win, the same way that you have to perform perfectly if you want to make an A on your exam. But they've never even tried it before. Most students either don't practice enough or they practice the wrong types of questions. And so when they go into the exam, again, they have to do it perfectly to get an A, and they've never even thought about it before, never even tried it in that way before. So the same way that a golfer is going to arrive early to play the same course before the competition, you have to practice questions that are similar to what you're going to see on your quizzes and on your exams. The more you practice, the better you're going to perform. Success does take repetition, but it takes the right type of repetition and the right type of practice. So that is the Chem Excellence method. First, you want to prepare. Actually have a plan before you dive in. Second, you want to preview the material, actually get the most out of your lectures. And then lastly, you want to practice. So here's what some of our students have had to say about using this plan. Alexandra, whenever she implemented it, she went from averaging C's and D's to getting a 97 on her first exam. Monique said it's the best possible thing she could have done for her grade. Even the most complex concepts are easy to understand. 11 out of 10, recommend. And then Megan, talking about the practice problems that prepare you for exams. Those practice problems are super, super important. Okay, congratulations. You made it this far. You made it through the bulk of the training. I want to remind you about that agreement that we made at the beginning. So you have two choices. You can take all of this information that I gave you and you can just implement it on your own. For some students, that's all they need. You could be very successful with that. For other students, that's not just quite enough. For some students, they want a little bit more reassurance that it's going to be enough. So if you're in that second class of students, if you want to make sure that you have a little bit more support, you want to make sure that you really know exactly where to put your focus, then I've cleared out some time in my schedule. I would be happy to have a chat with you and we can talk about where you are going into your class, and we can talk about if you're interested in some support, what that could look like for you. So here's the link to my calendar. Let me show you what it looks like. You know what? I think this might be the wrong link. Let's see. Yeah. I'm sorry. That is not the link to my calendar. I'm so sorry. Instead of strategy session, it should say booking-page. I'm going to show you right now. Or you know what? I can just put it here. Bear with me just a second. Okay, I believe you all can see. Yeah, here we go. So up here, this is actually the link, chemexcellence.com/booking-page. So sorry about that. That is the correct link. So it looks like this. Here's the video of me talking, but you can click this button. And when you click this button, it will take you to my calendar. And so I'm already kind of booking up for next week. But you can, I still have a couple days left, a couple times left next week that you can book in and schedule a time to talk with me, and we can chat about where you are. No pressure at all, but just we can talk about where you are, and if you are interested in some support, the different options that we have, and see if it might be a good fit for you. And then once you pick your day and your time, there are just some questions I have for you to know what course you're in and to get a little bit more of an understanding. So that's our training. I hope that was helpful for you. We have a ton of resources that we'll be sharing throughout the semester, so make sure that you subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Make sure that you keep your eye out in the Facebook group if that's how you found us, or keep an eye on your email if you found us through email. But I hope it was helpful for you, and if you're scheduling a call, then I look forward to chatting with you soon.